ours and all others. And that each new discovery made, in however remote a part of the Earth's surface in paleontology, will confirm or not confute or not contradict the body of knowledge that we have so painstakingly erected. So everything else added to that is a work of what the Church of England used to call supererogation. It's needless, it's unnecessary. Occam's razor disposes painlessly of it. It's gone, it's history.
To turn it to you, Reverend Sharpton, for a moment. I was expecting you to, I think you very eloquently made a version of the argument from design. You have argued an idea of spirituality, but you haven't defended the Bible at all. I mean, isn't that what you do from the pulpit?
Maybe I read the wrong book. I did not get the book that Hitchens wrote, The Bible is Not Great. I didn't get a copy of the book that Religion is Not Great. He said God is not great. And I have yet to, after several inquiries here tonight, get him to address that. And when I read his book and hear him talk, he makes a case against everything other than God. Maybe the name of the book should have been God is Not Great, I Don't Think. Or you have the right to think he's great if you just don't tell me. That might have been a more appropriate title. But I'm waiting for him to establish that God, not King James, not Muhammad, not Jerry Falwell, God is not great. So to ask me to defend who I have no personal relationship with, no belief in, is I'm in the wrong debate. I think that we can then agree that as long as I don't bother the sedate scholarly world of Mr. Hitchens, that I can believe in my God. And he's fine. And I'm fine with that, because I'm certainly not trying to convert Mr. Hitchens. I'm just trying to have him understand that he cannot impose upon me how I relate to God by quoting things that I may or may not believe anyway.
I'm afraid we're not going to have any conversions tonight. And I wasn't expecting any, although you never know if Christopher is going to start speaking in tongues before we're done. Let's take some questions from the audience. There's a mic on that side.
Is it working?
Go up so that we can actually hear you.
Thank you very much. Gentlemen, thank you very much for the discussion. This question is for Mr. Hitchens. Based on your prior writings, based on most recently a Time Out interview with you in which you claimed that the only time you ever prayed to God was for an erection, I'm going to ask you this question.
Was that a miracle?
Oh! Woo!
What
anyway,
people...
The question, Mr. Hitchens, is...
What people... What people usually want to know was the prayer answer.
And?
Not me, baby. Should we, normal, sane Americans, continue to be so bedazzled by a bespoke, off-cam superficialist who just wants the U.S. to pick up the many disastrous pieces of the British Empire and whose understanding of God is much shorter than his penis?
I don't mind.
Assuming that was not a question, let's try another one.
Well, no, I thought it was. It sounded interrogative. I mean, I don't want anyone to think I'm dodging anything, is all.
Yes.
It might be difficult for me to follow up that one, but correct me if I'm wrong. In the beginning of the talk, you
we will.
You expressed antipathy towards deism in principle.
Slow down. I can't hear what it's saying.
I can't even.
In the beginning of the talk, you expressed antipathy towards deism in principle, predicated on this particular interpretation of God as a supreme dictator and judge. Is that correct?
That would be correct, yes.
Now, if I could play devil's advocate for God for a moment, could you appreciate a God who watches us and our actions eagerly and with great interest because he created a world where everything is permitted?
Yes, I can picture it, but not without horror.
Hi, Christopher. My name is Linda Ward Selby. I came from Toronto for this.
This isn't about my penis, is it?
No. I wanted to ask you, in light of the number of intellectuals and well-educated people and Templeton Prize winners that invoke the names of Richard Dawkins, you and others who are speaking out and liberating us right now, are they deluded, dishonest, or emotionally dysfunctional? And may I also ask, with regards to your book, you mentioned that at age 9 that you realized that you might have been an atheist, but yet had 2 religious weddings, one Greek Orthodox and then Jewish. Why did you do that? When my second wedding came along, I went for the Justice of the Peace in a real estate office under a stuffed trout.
Now I got the problem. 2 failed marriages and 1 failed erection. You gave up on God.
You still don't know. You still don't know how that prayer was answered, Reverend. That's what you might call a premature ejaculation on your part.
Not if I had Mary to give me witness.
I'm sorry, but I only have one ex-wife, and not even she in her most adamant moments would describe our marriage as failed. I will say this, by the way. I hope to encourage anyone here who might be ever in any difficulty. If you had a child with someone, you really can never be divorced from them. And she and I are very proud of our children, and they are rather happy with us. It's a pity we couldn't get along better, but anyway, don't let me get too husky about this. On with the show, skipping lightly over the genitalia. Isaac Newton was a spiritualist, as far as we know. He seems to have believed in a number of weird and crackpotted theories. Joseph Priestley, the great Unitarian and rationalist and defender of the American Revolution, forced to flee from England to Philadelphia after the monarchists and Tories burned his laboratory, discoverer of oxygen, believed in the phlogiston theory, the most exploded theory that we know of. You'll find the coincidence or coexistence of superstition and mania of all kinds with great scientific achievement all over the place. There may now be people who are real physicists. Fred Hoyle was actually one of them, the late Fred Hoyle, the man who believed in steady state and disbelieved what he contemptuously called the Big Bang, was also a man of odd, intermittent faith. It doesn't matter. What you could not do is say that your evidence as a physicist or a biologist supported your private religious beliefs. It would be a coincidence. Whereas if you're Richard Dawkins, the coherence between what you have found and what you've contributed to science and the extreme unlikelihood of the existence of any God is pretty striking. Hope that's clear.
Please.
First of all, I have no interest in anyone's sex life. Sorry. My question builds upon your response. Why do so many people seem to feel such a deep need to believe things which are obviously untrue? Homeopathy, angels, UFOs, you name it. All the claptrap which fills endless magazines, television shows, etc.
As I understood the question, it was essentially why is there such a persistent need for faith? Why do so many people continue to believe, if Christopher argues that the species has evolved beyond the need for it? Is that your question?
Well, not quite. What is the fundamental attraction of the illogical?
Is what?
Say it again.
What is the fundamental attraction of the illogical?
Oh. Is it
the illogical? Yeah, I understand.
Yeah. Are people drawn to religion because they're drawn to superstition and things that aren't logical?
Yeah. Well, you first.
Let's go in reverse.
All right. Then, well, look, there's a poem by Philip Larkin called Church Going, which I hope anyone here who has not read, that's sentences going nowhere, I hope anyone who hasn't read that poem will let me do them a favor and look it up